Hello, Dr. Karen Can here. Welcome to another edition of the Spiritual Medicine Digest. And the good news for this week is that we were able to clear 787 energetic weapons that were directed to all of humanity. And before you ask, well, who did that, right? Here's the thing. I would love to remind you and myself, of course, that we all come from the same stuff, if you will, from source. So even though we sometimes in our human minds like to separate ourselves, like we're the good guys, those are the bad guys, angels are good, demons are bad, all that kind of stuff. Honestly, we all come from the same source of nothing, like that 0 point, that quantum realm. And what we can imagine can become true, which is very useful when you're doing healing, not so useful when you're in kind of a mind frick, right? And having negative thoughts or habits. So when we understand that we're all coming from the same space and we're having different perspectives, we can choose what we would like to experience. And therefore, when we're healing entities or healing negative extraterrestrial interference, we're doing it from a place of unconditional love, not from a place of judgment, not from a place of punishment. This is very important because in our new reality where we have a sustainable earth, where we are all living in harmony, we really have to let go of those old paradigms. They cannot exist and be in harmony with what we say we want. And that includes all aspects of what we think about politics as well, especially US politics these days. So being in that place of unconditional love doesn't mean that you are being stepped on or you're being weak or anything like that. It really is quite different. It actually is more powerful. There really isn't much, well, there isn't anything more powerful than unconditional love. So when we talk about those 787 weapons that were directed to all of humanity, see if you can get into a place of love. And one of the best ways I find personally is that I go into stillness through observing internal movement. And when I do that and feel the energy in my body, I'm doing it right now, even though I'm talking to you, I notice there's like an underlying ebb and flow of peace in that space. And from that space, the unconditional love can grow from. It's very difficult to go from anger to unconditional love, right? It's almost like impossible. um, it's like walking forwards and then suddenly walking backwards. There's a point where there's a transition, right, between that forward momentum and the backward momentum. If you really try to do it in one fell swoop, you'll probably fall over. So same thing here is that I don't expect anyone, including myself, to go from a place of, anger to suddenly feel blissful and joyful, right? Like I think it's false and it's phony and inauthentic and almost impossible to make ourselves do that. But what we can do is go from a place of whatever we're feeling that we maybe do not prefer, go into the stillness space. And stillness, yes, I mean mind still, right? But I'm not talking about telling your mind to shut off or trying to shut off your mind. My technique, stillness through observing internal movement, is really about feeling the energy in the body. And what happens is we go from this anger, right? And then we feel the energy in our body while we're still angry. Feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it. And what happens is it starts to move and change and morph on its own. We don't even have to make it go away. We let it be there. And then what happens is the peace or the bliss or whatever comes out the other side, and we don't have to make it there. So when I talk about unconditional love, if you're angry, don't try to force yourself into a place of unconditional love. I mean, it's not really humanly possible. What we can do is when you're angry or upset or sad or something like that, go into the stillness space by feeling the energy in your body. And I'll post a link here in case you don't know this technique already. It's a free training on this technique. I'll post it near this video. So when you go into the body and feel the energy of the body, from that space, you naturally move into that peace. And from that space, you can move into that intention of underlying and unconditional love. And from that space, that's where we do the healing. And it is I think, the most powerful way to do healing. I mean, that may be a bias on my part, and maybe I'm wrong. But currently, this is serving me and serving my clients and students. And I know there are other teachers that teach different things, and that's okay. We all have our perspectives. I would say for those that are, working with, clearing entities or teachers clearing entities, I would love to see everyone come from that space of unconditional love. And sometimes you can tell whether that person is coming from that or not because of how they treat the entities. I know that sounds funny, right? Like if they did something horrible and bad, human nature is you want revenge, and in the past, what do we do? Like in the past, eons ago, even more recently, there are traditions and shamans that have, various different lineages. And their habit was to bind entities, to punish them or send them away, or, so they can't do their nasty deeds, whatever. My preference is to heal them with love to whatever extent that we're allowed. They're not going to necessarily go from a light score of 30 to 100. Okay. We have to do a lot of work to get there, but oftentimes we can get them past 70, which is pretty amazing because there's still humans running around that are not a light score of 70, and oftentimes they have entities attached. So if we can get entities to a higher light score, if we're allowed, and to heal them with love, unconditional love, Topican healing, of course, is the technique that I use, then I believe that's a better way of doing it. I don't think it's a weaker way of doing it. I don't believe in punishing them. I don't believe in, just telling them to go away or anything like that. But it is challenging for the average person to get into that place of unconditional love. That's where sensitive souls come in because they have a natural knack for that natural knack for empathy and feeling that compassion for others. Sometimes if they feel it too much, they can get in trouble because their boundaries go down and they get, heavy and weighted down literally and figuratively. But if we can use those skill sets of empathy and feel empathy for even the nasty of the nasties, human or otherwise, entities or otherwise, then we really have it down. Like we really have our much, much clearer and faster way to that quote unquote nirvana that we all want to experience. So I challenge you to be in that place of stillness or at least neutrality when it comes to the quote unquote evil of the world. Now, let's get back to clearing the energetic weapons from all of humanity. Now, we didn't have to know what the weapons were, and I certainly was not going to take all day long to count all 787 of them. But we were able to cancel, delete, and uncreate all of them from all of humanity all at once, which is quite a feat. But luckily, thanks to the ascension process, I'm not taking credit for that, but because of the ascension process, we have that ability now to do that. So if we can connect to that stillness, connect to that love, it makes it much more powerful to do bigger and bigger healings. And being out of judgment really, really helps a lot. So I'm finally here ready to tell you who it was. So the entities that actually, quote unquote, perpetrated these energetic weapons for all of humanity fairly recently, a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, was an entity type I call pseudo light. Now in the past I called the entities the darker, deeper, more insidious entities, darkness of the dark, darkness masked in light, and light masked in light, but nobody understood what light masked in light meant. So, but that is the most often the most lowest light score, but the most difficult one to discern. Very, very challenging and difficult. They're not like a dark angel where they actually have a form, a body, if you will, or even a monkey demon, those little furry guys, running around. So the pseudo light looks like light. It looks like light. It even radiates to some degree, which is amazing. They can do this. Radiates what looks like light and love, etc. But underneath is a very, very deep and dark secret, if you will. And they are currently still able to function in our reality because of our responsibilities that we are working on to improve our own abilities to love, right? So they're allowed to continue some of their antics to some degree. So the pseudo light is difficult and challenging to find. And sometimes things look good, but they're not. And one of the most challenging things for me is hearing about a friend, especially a loved one who is a young person, um, you know, go forward and really try to find tools that help them, with whatever it is they're dealing with, anxiety or depression or whatever challenge, right? And they might be going to YouTube or social media looking for these tools. And so they might find something. And a young person recently told me that she wanted to have an out of body experience, I think she said, and she went to this meditation. And some of these YouTubers are very, very popular. They have millions upon millions of subscribers. I wish. So I don't really work at it, but anyway. So they have millions and millions of subscribers, some of them. And she experienced this meditation and actually fell asleep. And this is really interesting because in the past, when I have felt some sort of overlay, either extraterrestrial or entity ones are really easy to find. The extraterrestrial ones that have an overlay where there's entities involved but not directly, they can be a lot trickier for people. Um, you can feel sleepy and you think, well, gee, I'm just relaxed. No, actually, some of it is actually some sort of, not hypnosis isn't the right word, but some energetic manipulation. You cannot keep your eyes open. So anyway, so this happened to this friend of mine, and she woke up with voices in her head telling her something, and she did not feel good. She felt something dark. And luckily, she did contact me so I could do a clearing on her behalf. But I'm thinking, well, how many other millions, thousands, or millions of other young people are looking for these tools, right? And are getting manipulated by entities like the pseudo light, which can hide very, very well, even within spiritual masters, supposedly. So, or at least in my experience. So that's a real tough one. But I just wanted to let you know it's out there. In my Light Warrior Bootcamp 2.0, we actually go into, doing these healings, how to do them, and we talk about the different types of entities, including pseudo light. But I just wanted to summarize that here for you, just to let you know that is who perpetrated these energetic weapons to all of humanity. Now, when I did the clearing, oftentimes and this is true this time as well, I felt a lot of energy coming through my body, and maybe it's reflective of that energetic cleansing or clearing. There could be some residual clearing right now, but I just want to let you know we did do a massive clearing on all of humanity. You may or may not notice a difference. If you did, awesome. So that's the really good news for this week. Now, I'd love to tell you that every day we get permission to do these grand, big, huge healings all the time. Not always, not always. Sometimes we just don't have that capability yet. We can do it little by little. For example, somebody asked me to clear entities from the Capitol Hill and the White House. Sure. The thing is that I don't own the place. Okay. So because I don't own the place per se, in order to keep it clear, I would have to do it daily, which is a lot of, it gets to be a lot of work because, I do a lot of clearings on my clients, myself, family, etc., etc. So I'll periodically go in there but somebody did request it, so I went ahead and did that before the changeover, occurred. And yeah, there were some pretty low light score areas in that for sure. Entities do like to attack the areas, whether the person's good or bad or whatever is really irrelevant because I've seen hordes of entities attack a really high light person because they just want to basically sabotage them. And then I've seen a whole bunch of entities just be right at home with some other leaders, if you will, because they're doing some bad stuff, So it's sometimes hard to discern. And then you get the what I call the light mirror effect, which can be very troubling for many people. And what that is when, okay, so I've had it happen to me where I've been either friends with someone or working with someone or another healer or whatever, and they'll read that either I have an entity or my space, or usually it's me or whatever. And I have some very high vibrational friends that I do, have that has my back, who has my back, that I can check these things with them, because I just know I need to be humble and open to all possibilities, and so I would, check in with them, say, hey, this person said I have an entity, love your feedback on it, and check and things like that. And for these experts that I trust, that have a very, very light score over 90 consistently in all timelines, they're like, well, actually, it's not you, it's them. And I was like, okay. Now, the thing is, I kept hearing this over time. And they're like, well, I really tried to be honest and see if it was really you, Dr. Karen, and it was not. But what was really interesting is that some of these other people, including some healers, were open to the possibility that it was their stuff. But it was really challenging for them to not accept, sorry. So for these healers, it was their ego being able to be completely neutralized in looking at the possibility that maybe it was their stuff. And for these healers, when I explained what I found, knowing full well that they might reject it or even resist it, they were like, oh my gosh, you're right. I am finding that. And what we found out over time is that sometimes in my presence, they can see whatever dark is lurking, and pseudolight is one of them. That they can see it, but only when they're near me or working with me. I know that sounds kind of egotistical, but I just want to try to explain the situation. So in other words, they can't see it unless they're in relationship with me, and then they can see it, and then they can clear it. So I've had enough times where this has happened that I sometimes don't even bother going to my, my colleagues to double check things. But pseudolight can be very, very sneaky and challenging, and it can look like, I'll give you another example. So there was a wonderful young person that I actually had on my radio show. And he had one time just contacted me out of the blue, and he said, Dr. Karen, you don't know me, but I'm so-and-so. And I'm seeing you've been doing some entity work, and I'm concerned because a very good, trusted psychic friend of mine said that she watched my healing video, and she couldn't stand it. She said she could feel entities, and it was really, really difficult. And she basically just told me that I had an entity. So I would really love your opinion on this. Now, normally when people contact me out of the blue that I don't know, I don't, just go ahead and do a reading and clearing it, because I'd be doing that all day for everyone if they asked me, right? But Source basically I saw his name, saw what he did, and gave me guidance that yes, it was okay to do this. So I did check in and checked into the light score of his video. And this is one of the ways that I tell, what is the light score of this video? For example, the light score of the video that my other friend, who had some entities attached to that video, was very low. But this guy, his healing video that his psychic friend was watching, that couldn't stand watching it, okay, was like 99%. Like, it was really, really high light score. So I was like, really? This is odd. So because I don't know the person, I don't have a vested interest either way, right? So I'm rechecking, and I keep getting really, really high score. So I thought, so what is she talking about, right? What is the psychic talking about? This entity. I don't see any entities attached to or influencing this at all. So then it dawned on me, oh my gosh, this is the same effect that's happened to me with other people, is the light mirror effect. So what happened was, when she was watching his video, the light score of his video was so high, she could now see the entity. The thing is that she can't tell whether it's his entity or her entity, because it's right here, right in front of her. You know what I mean? And that was what's happening. And when she shut it off, the entity disappeared. The entity was much more comfortable in the shadows, let me tell you that. So I told this gentleman, this young person, I said, look, this is what I'm getting. I'm getting that and I didn't even watch his video. Okay, I just tested it. I said, I'm getting that your video is very, very high light score. And the reason your friend, the psychic, saw the entity was because it was her entity, not yours. And it was one that was hiding that she could not see unless she was next to or interfacing with something that's very high vibrational, like your video. And I said, well, by the way, I cleared it. Um, so I said, well, that's my take, right? And this young person literally was almost in tears and said, you know what, that is what my intuition told me. So that was a relief for him to get that validation. Um, and, you know, his friend was able to receive the information and process that as well. And ego does get in the way. It really can. And I know as a spiritual teacher that the universe will test me. And you know, it's like we all get tested, okay? But your test may be very different from my test, okay? So if I've gone through a test that you may be going through or have gone through, the test for me may be much more subtle and trickier. Not because the universe is mean or anything like that. It's just that it helps to get me and evolve to the next level, to let go of more of the ego, to be more aligned with source. And so that sometimes means telling someone something they don't want to hear. And sometimes they'll assume it's my ego. And that's, you know, and the thing is, before I used to resist that and go, it's not, you know, but I'm like, you know what? If they want to think that, that is okay. I just know that if I let the ego get in there and take a hold, okay, if my ego takes a hold, I know I'm no longer in alignment with source. I know that my answers that I get are going to be less accurate. I know that my life is going to flow very differently. You know, the signs and the synchronicities and the help. And, you know, it's literally like turning my back on the universal help. So I have a vested interest to be and stay humble. Even if someone doesn't think that I'm right or they think that it's my ego talking, that's okay. They're allowed to think that. But I'm just letting you know that I have a vested interest not to let my ego go, because I have seen other spiritual colleagues, not necessarily ones I know well, but personally, but I've seen them gone way awry, right? Like just totally not seeing at all that entities are now involved, that they're being pulled offline, that their egos got the best of them, they're making, you know, millions of dollars, and there's nothing wrong with that, okay? But at that point, it's very attractive and lucrative to have your back padded, you know, or to, I don't know, just like I said, there's nothing wrong with having accolades or awards or, you know, goodness knows that, you know, I used to be addicted to those. But anyway, but it's like if someone says something bad about you, can you be neutral about it? If someone says something great about you, can you be neutral about it? So my self-esteem no longer is dependent on what other people think of me, good or bad, right? And it's a wonderful, peaceful place to be. It's not always, you know, easy uh, because of the abundance challenges that the universe likes to throw at us. But I just wanted to share that with you because the pseudo light can be tricky. So how you know whether you are in alignment or at the highest vibration as you can be is if you find yourself judging, if you find yourself blaming, shaming, being self-righteous, I'm right, you're wrong, can't these people see what the truth is, you know, wake up you people, like that kind of attitude. Okay, no, I get it, I've done it too. When you're in that space, that there's a little bit of a chink in the armor, if you will. The pseudo light can affect, maybe not attached to you, but can affect us when we're consistently in those energies. The blame, the shame, the judgment, that kind of thing. Some of the other entities, not so much. They don't have that amount of strength to do that if you're a highlight score. But those of us that are higher, you know, highlight score, the pseudo light that is the most quote unquote powerful that I've met anyway in this universe, entity that can affect to some degree even high vibrational spiritual leaders who get too much into their ego. So that's about all I'm going to say about the pseudo light. It's not something for you to be scared of or anything like that. Just know that it exists. And unconditional love is the prescription. And releasing judgment, shaming, blaming, you know, self-righteous and all that kind of stuff helps little by little, day by day. Consistency is the most important thing. So, some announcements for this week. So next Monday is the first Monday of the month. So I have the pleasure of welcoming back Dr. Dennis Lobstein, who is helping me with the LifeWave Ask the Doctors podcast. So on Light Warrior Radio, we're going to cover the topic of bladder irritability and frequent urination. This is a very common problem, especially as humans get older. Men and women have similar issues. And then women sometimes will have inflammation in the bladder that keeps their bladder painful all the time, which is a terrible condition to have. And so Dr. Dennis is going to help us with teaching us what acupuncture points may be helpful to stimulate to help balance the urinary system, the bladder, kidneys, etc., to stop these symptoms, and how to use the LifeWave phototherapy patches on acupuncture points specifically for these symptoms. So that's going to be nice and exciting. So join us Monday at 12 noon for that Ask the LifeWave Doctors radio show on bladder irritation and frequent urination. So the second announcement I have is that if you've been following me for a while and been on my mailing list, you have had alerts for the monthly live mini healings that I do. So what happens is that we get together and we do some group healing together, and then as people write in comments, the guide team and myself, we send, and everyone, we send healing to each other. And the nice thing about the mini healings is that my attention is 100% focused, on that, and so it can be very, very powerful. And in the past, what we've done is we've done it live on Light Warrior Network on Facebook, and and then it's all housed there. Here's the thing: is that recently I got the intuitive hit that I should be doing it differently. So asking Source about what should I be doing, what would be better. What I've decided is that I'm going to do it through Zoom. Now we'll still stream live into the Light Warrior Network group, but we've had some challenges actually seeing people's comments on the Facebook Live technically for whatever reason. So what we're going to do is we're going to put an event every month up on the Light Warrior Network Facebook page. And if you're not on Facebook, this is the other advantage. If you're not on Facebook, some people are like, I can't do the live mini healings with you because I'm not on Facebook. And there's more and more people getting rid of Facebook because of all the very, very deep censorship that's going on. And I've asked Source many times whether I should leave Facebook yet, and the answer was no, not yet. So, or at least no, I didn't say not yet, but no. And the explanation I got was about it's better to be the light in the dark. So in other words, one of the reasons we do Facebook is to expand the tribe. So people can't find me as well if I'm not on Facebook. And so right now we're using, even if you think Facebook's evil, we're using that evil engine. We're using that and infusing our light to attract the right tribe so they know they can get help. And so you're going to have a Zoom registration, and you just have to register once, and then you'll be on that mailing list, right? So you just register once, and you'll be on that mailing list. So every month that we have the mini healings, you'll be able to come on the Zoom. The only thing I got to tell you is that right now, the Zoom, we're doing it through Zoom webinar, which I just bought. Okay, so hundreds of dollars to do this. And right now we have a capacity for 100 people to be on at any one time. So for now, well, and we haven't had 100 people at once, okay? But just so you know, so when we invite the people that are not on Facebook on there, there may be possibility that somebody might not get on if they come on later. So hopefully 100 will be like the capacity we can accommodate. And so I'm going to post the link in this just below the video, and if you're an email list, we'll post it there as well, just to get you to sign up for that. You don't have to show up if you sign up, but just so you know the Zoom link and all that kind of stuff, right? And so we will stream live into, if all the tech goes well, stream live into Light Warrior Network. I just won't be able to see the comments on Light Warrior Network. We're just going to concentrate on whoever's on Zoom. But the nice thing is that even if you're on Light Warrior Network, you couldn't get into Zoom, whatever healings we do on other people will work on you if it's relevant and for the highest and greatest good and you're open to it. So that's the really cool thing. Yeah. Okay, so that's a major, major change right now is we're doing mini healings through Zoom, not directly through the Light Warrior Network Facebook group. And you never know, in the future, we may or may not even have the Facebook group, depending on, what's going on, what happens, etc., etc. So I have duplicated the group in MeWe. So if you are anti-Facebook or not a big fan of Facebook, I totally get it. I'm using it for business purposes. I'm being very honest and transparent. That's why I'm using it. Not so much to connect with family because we have other ways of connecting. So Facebook is really a business thing, and MeWe is, not very active right now, but we are growing the tribe. So there is a Light Warrior Network tribe, a mirror tribe in MeWe. And in that space, we definitely are feeling much more able to express some things that we were getting censored on Facebook for expressing. Okay. Now, is it 100%, unhackable or whatever? Well, nothing's unhackable, but some of the very, very testy, or not testy, but the very, very controversial things that I would love to share with you if you're open and willing to hear it, related to the pandemic, masking, politics, pharmaceutical company, vaccines, all that kind of stuff. Okay. I am not going to share on social media. No. Nope. Now, there are some things I do share, okay, and some of them are, kind of cheeky, and some of them are funny, and, that kind of thing. But as far as my, grounded opinion about some of these things, it's not worth it, because I don't have a big enough following to make a big enough difference to get deplatformed. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not that I'm scared of being deplatformed. It's just that some of these other things are just so weird that I do, right? Like, global healings and all that kind of stuff, aliens and stuff like that. I would rather speak to my tribe and my tribe only. So that's why I became faculty at the International Academy of Universal Self-Mastery. Now it is like an online university. So within the walls of iAwesome, I have that protected space, if you will. I have a special group called Sensitivity is Your Superpower. And in that group, we are going to be talking about all sorts of things that we will not be talking about on Facebook or even on the email. So, in fact, certain things I can't even spell properly on the email. I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, you're like, well, how are people going to know? Well, somehow they do. So just so you know, I would love for you to join me at iAwesome if it resonates with you, and you can get a free tour if you go to my link and then you sign up for one of the master classes that are coming up, the freebies. One of the freebies that are coming up, and then you can see what it's like, and you can, there's a virtual tool, you can see what it's like in there, it's very much like Facebook in terms of there's a feed and discussion. And in the Sensitivity is Your Superpower, the group is very, very small right now, but I'm sure it'll grow over time. And what I'm going to do is there's going to be discussion threads, which is really cool in the university. So there's a discussion thread already that I started on COVID and pandemic, right? And there's stuff there that I've never told you guys, not on Spiritual Medicine Digest anyway, because that's public. All right, so what's in there? And so we're going to talk about some controversial topics in iAwesome in that group. And of course, not everybody in the university is going to be into that stuff. So, but if you are, and you really want to know, what's on my mind or some of the work that I do behind the scenes, I'm happy to share that with you there. And so that is, you can, do the free tour if it resonates, and you can sign up using my link. It's $9.99 per month. And of course, you have access to my free course, other faculty's free courses, as well as if there's something else you absolutely love, whether it be belly dancing or meditation or drumming or whatever else you want to take in there, you can pay for that course. But it really is like a university. So within the walls of the university, what's shared in the university stays in the university. So would love to have that conversation with you there. The good news is that we are figuring out how to connect my Zoom inside the group. Yes. So I'll be doing specific Zooms inside the group. We'll have them scheduled. You'll see the event list. And now this is going to launch in February. But what we're going to do is we're going to figure out how to do these conversations so we can have a chat. Literally have a chat. In iAwesome in this group. And right now it's a very small group. And so Source told me to call it Take 20. So I guess that's 20 minutes where we can have this kind of discussion on a more regular basis and get more connected, so I can really hear from you verbally, not just on writing. And maybe do a little coaching and sharing with you some of the stuff that I found out. Maybe you can share the stuff that you found out and we can discuss it and things like that. So I think it's going to be really, really fun. And don't have to be censored. So, so yeah, so click the link and check it out and see if it resonates with you. And yeah, thanks so much for being here. And I look forward to sharing with you some more news next week. And until then, lots of love. Bye for now.